Hello, Captain Nadhem. How are you?
Hi, Razwan. How you doing?
Very
Nice
well,
to
sir.
meet you after a long time.
It's been a long time. How long have I known you? 9, 8 years?
Well, I think yes, from 2018.
Wow. And I must tell you guys, it's been many years I've known Captain Nadhem, and he hasn't aged a day.
Thank to the plastic surgeons.
All right, Captain Nadhem, I want everybody watching this to know a little bit about you, your personal life. Why did you end up becoming a pilot? What made you decide to enter this amazing world of aviation?
Well, it's good. It's very common. I think being a pilot is the dream of a lot of kids. Let's say when I was a kid, and unfortunately, when it was I was grade 10 or 9. I came to know that pilots cannot wear glasses, and at that time I started wearing glasses. Anyhow, we didn't have internet those days, you know.
So you were given some misconceptions as well.
Yes, a lot. And anyhow, life goes around, and then I met some pilots. They were wearing glasses and decided, yes, we have to go there.
But by that point, you had already done
some other jobs. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So may I know how old were you when you decided to actually start your career in aviation?
Start my career in...
when did you start your training as a pilot?
As a pilot was 22.
Right, all right. So you guys watching that, it's never too
22.
late.
It's 22, yeah.
So for someone watching this, even if someone is 22, they can still jump into the world.
If they are
of aviation.
42, they can still jump in. 42, no, it's never late. It's never late. We had people who joined or who started pilot training at age 44.
Okay.
And now they are still flying.
Wouldn't you feel like, generally the world would say, but you're already 42, it'd be very difficult for you to, forget what you know and start doing pilot training. What would you say to that?
Well, if it's your dream, I think you will be able to do it. Actually, there is many perceptions, a lot of training. People say he looks too young, he looks too old. You know, it's satisfying sometimes. People, it's very important, but it's not always right. You know, most of training now around the world is based on competencies. So people who carry a pilot license, they are competent, regardless of the age.
I've been hearing this new terminology, competency-based training, CBT. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, CBTA actually.
Okay. I haven't heard much about it. If you could describe a little bit more about this concept to my audience.
Well, it's a very big item, and I think it's the future.
Okay.
Not only in aviation, but in many other items. Most of the training for pilots, engineers, flight dispatcher, dangerous goods, they will all convert now to CBTA.
Wow.
Basically, they are checking not just that you acquire the knowledge, but the skill and the attitude that you have, and they measure that you were competent, consistent in certain skills that they found it very important. And there are set of skills for instructors to assess whether you have it or not. So that's in a nutshell.
That's very interesting. In fact, I learned something new as well. I didn't know exactly what it is. I had just heard about this terminology. So thank you so much for that wonderful description. But guys, before we continue with the next few questions, let me tell you that we're right now sitting in an A320 simulator.
Yes, it is CEO and Neo.
CEO and Neo.
So it have both engines, the new engine and the old engines, and you can configure them with a couple of clicks.
Okay. So for someone who is new to the world of aviation, he wouldn't immediately...
Not you.
Someone who's watching this, if he's new to the world of aviation, how do they differentiate between a regular A320 and the newer models? Is there anything specific in the cockpit which you can specifically point out to differentiate?
Well, I've been flying this machine. The first time I sat on this machine, I think it was January 94.
Wow.
Okay, it was my official flight, my first official flight as a pilot. And since then, the cockpit have changed slowly, and this is, I think, one of the things that's about fly-by-wire, or the concept. All those are panels. They are just basically boxes, and they get updated slowly. The cockpit I've sat in, I would say at least 20% have changed.
All right. That's very interesting, because to be honest, I don't have a type rating on an A320 or an Airbus family. So for me, it would be very difficult to differentiate between the different models of A320 and so on.
Well, if you see the A320 license, it's one of those also very unique that automatically when you get the 320 license, you get the 18, A320, 18, 19, and 21.
Okay.
They are all the same family.
Okay.
It's all in one license. So it's like 4 type rating in one, in a way.
I did not know that. Thank you so much for enlightening us.
No.
Could you also tell us what this equipment is used for? Which part of the training do we use this piece of equipment we're sitting in right now?
Well, this is a fixed base simulator. It is a FMPT 1 and 2, and you can train up to the type rating stages of the first part of the type rating. You bring here first to the pilots where they will learn all the characteristics of the aircraft, the handling. You know, this is exactly what you are in the cockpit. We have the 180 screen or mirror.
It's
a mirror.
crisp.
Yes,
It's very crisp.
it's
I must
mirror.
say.
Yeah, and you can. I know that you go to a few simulators here and there from your social media.
Yes.
It's very hard to tell you where the projector met here.
I agree with you.
You
There's
cannot
a line
see the
generally.
project. Yes,
Generally.
here you can see it's very, very
Seamless,
clear.
guys.
Yes.
If you have seen other simulators and if you've actually jumped in the seat, that's when you can see the pixels sometimes, which is really bad. Run, right? If that's what the case is. But seriously, this is amazing.
Because this is like 3 projectors aligned.
Correct.
And normally in many simulators, you will see the alignments and this corner and this.
Correct.
This one does not. It's very, very, our engineers, they keep it really in good shape.
That's amazing. That's really good, sir. Let's move on. And I want to ask you, you yourself as a captain, TRE, airline pilot. Now, this is one of the common questions I've received on my social media. How does family work-life balance, how do you manage this whole thing?
Well, I think we are lucky as a pilot for at least in this region, the last 20, 22 years in the region. Previously, you were always with the classic airlines where you normally, or corporate, where you also disappear from your family at least between 3 to 10 days.
Yes.
And sometimes business corporate jet, you disappear for a good 1 month as well.
Correct.
Okay. However, with the many low-cost airlines now in the region, and Arabia is one of them.
Sure.
Okay, we were lucky that we were hardly like shift. You fly a morning flight or afternoon flight or evening or even a night flight, but you end up always back home. Very rarely that you have a layover somewhere. So from family-wise, I think low-cost airline, they really have very high.
That's true.
Good
actually.
level.
I've heard of. I have a bunch of friends in Air Arabia with you guys, and I know how they say it's like a regular day. You go and you come back 8 to 10 hours, and I think that's a very good thing about you.
Sometimes
guys.
you have long days, so sometimes you can work for like good 10 hours, and sometimes just 3 hours away.
Yeah, that's amazing. So
this is
you don't miss your birthdays, kids,
well,
families.
this is very good. So for all aspiring pilots, if you don't like to miss birthdays, your siblings' weddings, anniversary, don't be a pilot. Pilot, you miss a lot of things.
That's true.
Now we are coming in Eid time, so we are taking this photo just like 4 days from Eid.
Sure.
And normally at Eid, the highest demand, a lot of pilots, or a lot of passenger want to travel.
Sure.
So pilots need to be there. The airport employees need to be there. Immigration need to be there.
That's very true. Everyone wants to travel during the Eid time. So as he just mentioned, if you're planning on becoming a pilot, and if you're very keen on attending every single wedding, maybe that's not the right industry for you.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on. Right. So now, before we move on, I want to specifically understand this new MPL concept, right? This is one of the most common questions I also get on my Instagram. Why should we choose an MPL over a regular CPL or an ATPL style program? And there's a lot of misconceptions about this MPL program as well. So if you could shed some light on, especially what you guys do here as part of the MPL program.
Sure. This is a big topic, and I would if you have sometimes, maybe we can have a nice podcast about it. A nice chit chat.
Definitely.
Because this is by itself, it can go into details.
Correct.
But I think if you want it to be simplified, is basically So if we have enough time, maybe we sit in a podcast and we can go into details because it's very interesting. But in a nutshell or in a summarize, what is the MPL, what is the CPL? it depends on your purpose. What do you want? Why you want to be a pilot? You have to ask yourself. If you are interested to become an airline pilot, MPL is the best route because that's focused to train you for that specific. If you want to be like testing PPL first, then a CPL, then IR, and things like this, and like you just want to fly by yourself, like ultralight aircraft some people do around, then CPL might be perfect for you as for growth.
Okay. Some people also talk about the high risk involved with the MPL, where some people misunderstand this maybe, that only one airline is accepting an MPL which is connected to it. So how would you answer that question?
Well, the answer is a pilot that we have trained, MPL trained in T3 Aviation Academy. They are flying in many different airlines currently, and they are pilots. Some of them, they are examiners already, management pilots, you know, and I would say they are in the Far East, they are in subcontinent, in the Gulf, in Europe, in North Africa, in America as well. All those airlines, you know, without naming specific airlines, they are all over.
Okay. So there's a high chance, as you're saying, if you're a good student and if you're studying.
The minute that you finish your 1,500 and you take the ATPL in your hand, you are fully fledged. It's not frozen ATPL. It's an active It's active ATPL.
Correct.
So basically, you can go. It's an ICAO license. So basically, you can go to anywhere.
And obviously, the second part of the question is, which one do you recommend? Which one's better, CPL or an MPL? I guess you answered that question already.
Well, I have both options. CPL, I have a lot of friends.
Okay.
It looks from the first side that it is you're saving some money, but in the long term, I don't see. We can do again in this podcast. We can do the math.
Correct.
If you love math,
Yes.
like I do. And today, my son is. I have both choices to put him on a CPL or an MPL. And MPL, even though it's almost double the price for people who can't do the math, but I chose an MPL because of quality and the purpose. Because I want him to be an airline pilot. If I had an intention to make him PPL or just for fun, then it will be a different route.
That's very good to hear. Thank you so much. Moving on, let's talk about the pilot demand in this region, right? So everyone's talking about pilot shortage. We hear lots and lots of news. Every week I do these NETAMs, Wednesday news updates. And one of the most important news every day I cover is pilot shortage. This airline is looking for this much. What do you think about the pilot shortage in this region, in the MENA or the GCC region?
Well, it's one of the fastest growing region between subcontinent and the GCC, more than the North Africa as well, more than. It's a lot of focus. You just see the number of aircraft ordered and to be delivered in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's definitely, it will be a huge demand for pilots.
So that's perfect. As Captain Nadhem,
we currently, I think from the last 2 years, we have doubled our intake.
That's true.
Just to meet minimum demand. Minimum demand, we doubled our intake.
Even in your academy, you're saying that you're experiencing a lot of...
Yeah, I mean, because our academy has very specific philosophy, we train the pilot to ensure that they have a job. So we can train 500 pilots this year. We can take them and train them. The capacity is there. However, the recruitment of all these 500 might not be met, and this is not good for us. So we train 180 plus minus to make sure that they get a job.
Okay.
And that's a major difference in our philosophy.
All right. So for anyone watching us right now, if you're planning on becoming a pilot, and if someone's telling you that, oh, you're not going to get a job, don't worry about that. There's plenty jobs available, especially in this region, the Indo subcontinent, as Captain Nadhem was mentioning. So it's probably one of the best times to enter this industry.
Tamara have applied.
Yes.
So
For sure. She's half a pilot already, I would say. She's done a few flights on a Cessna 172. All right, let's keep moving. So recently we saw turbulence on one of the most...
A
few cases. Unfortunately, we had the Singapore airline and recently another one, Doha to Ireland. Now, some people online, I know these are not aviation experts, but these are regular meteorologists. And they're all talking in the TV news. I recently saw that every few years we see that the turbulence is increasing. Do you think it's because of the climate change, or do you think that's just a theory?
Well, I'm not the expert. Okay.
That's the best way of starting the answer.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you so
is.
much.
I'm not an expert, so this is not my area. But as an opinion, I would think it's not, because all the cases we've heard so far, based on the basic information, was about clear air turbulence.
The
But
CAT, right?
yeah. So I think the social media and the records and the videos made this goes wild, and people know it was happening before. We used to hear stories and of such things, whether from clear air turbulence or also mountain waves. This is very
waves,
two
yes.
common items. However, because we didn't have video, so it does not impact us visually, or we make it viral.
It doesn't become newsworthy.
But now, sometimes, you just see an aircraft hitting a pole and it's becoming news because
But
it's
it's also
viral.
TRP, right? Every channel out there wants to get people's attention, so they're looking for a hook. They're looking for very scary news to blow it out of proportion. So to end that answer, would you say it's nothing to be worried about as a passenger, someone who's a bit nervous?
Well, we shouldn't be worried about it,
Okay.
basically. But is it environmental issues, or is it global warming? Okay, I have no clue. I cannot comment.
Thank you so
on
much,
that.
guys. This is one of the things. Get your news from an expert. If you're asking someone who is not a meteorologist or is not an expert, it's very important to establish the fact that it's our opinion and not a scientific fact. But as a passenger, as an aviator out there, turbulence is not something you should be worried about. But still, I would advise wear your seatbelts,
Yep.
right? Use your precautions, put your seatbelts on.
For me, it's been always the recommendation to myself, to my kids, and all my friends. Even though I'm very familiar with the flights and everything, even if I'm sitting and there is sometimes we do delivery flight and there is none.
It's
It's
empty.
only me
Sure.
sitting as a passengers and a couple of pilots flying in the front. I would always buckle the seats belt.
You heard that straight from a senior captain, right? That's what you should be doing, right? So let's keep moving, right? So one quick message you have for all the aspiring pilots out there. If you had to give one most important advice, what would that be?
Well, first of all, I would say search well. Now you have the biggest tool in the world. You have the web, you have the artificial intelligence, you have ChatGPT, you have expert people like Razwan to give you their opinion, and experts details of what's the tensions. Take your time before you jump. It's a big investment. It's a career change, and I seen this in the people who pay themselves. They would do the research, but I'm speaking or pointing my words mainly for the people who their parents are paying.
Makes sense.
Your parents are paying at least $500,000 dirham. It's almost $150 plus minus, and that's a lot of money of investment. And do the proper research.
Okay. Well, that's good advice. Do your proper research, guys. Don't just jump in because it's a fancy industry. Know what you're getting into. Know the kind of subjects involved. That's one of the reasons in my job as well. I meet a lot of students as an admissions person, as an instructor. I always tell them, do you know the names of the subjects you're going to be studying? I ask them, what are the 9 names of the PPL level subjects?
Yeah.
They don't even know. So, how are you joining without even knowing? So, please do your research. Obviously, there's a lot of online short aviation courses. There's aviation foundation courses. We do a lot of these things as well to educate you. And let's move on to this very interesting question, right? So, recently I've heard from someone online, in fact, maybe one of you who asked me this question is watching, and they're a bit concerned. How is it only 50 hours of actual flying or 60 hours of actual flying towards an MPL program? Because they're also used to hearing about 250 hours of flying in a single engine, twin engine, piston aircraft. This comes off as, are the pilots going to be able to handle emergencies with only such little hours of real flying?
Absolutely. Actually, we reduced it from 50 to 42.
Oh, wow, that's news to me. 42. 42 hours is the new one. All right, okay.
Yeah, but however, first of all, this is one of the myths, and some of the competitor keep spreading these things. However, first of all, MPL is not something that we do it by ourselves. It's highly regulated. It's an ICAO license. It is by Civil Aviation of UAE and many others. Actually, a lot of other countries now trying to adapt this, or they had adopted it, but they have never implemented, and now they are in implementation stage. Actually, people who say it's 50 hours or 42 hours, it's not true. That's only on the light aircraft. But actually, as an MPL, you will have 240 hours of training.
Training, okay.
Okay, basically on aircraft training, because you do 800 plus hours on ground training, and then the rest you do on this. The only difference is 50 hours or 42 hours you do on the light aircraft, the light machine, and then on this baby, you do 200 hours.
Okay. And you're saying that the experience they get from these simulators are pretty good?
Well, a lot of pilots, a lot of examiners, myself as well, senior captains, we bring them in here, we set them. It is certified, of course, this one. But when they sit on this machine, after flying, I think for 10 seconds, they have difficulty on realizing it is not a full flight simulator.
So the state of mind, they're so
because of
focused
the human
the immersive
biology
experience as well.
Yeah, I think the previously it was 120 mirror, and this is 180. So it makes a huge difference when you see all around.
So when you're doing your training in the simulator, you're getting that immersive experience. So you're actually trained at that same
We'll
standard.
give you a ride later on.
Thank you so much for that. All right, now I want to ask you, my audience, this is one of the most common questions, right? So one of my audience asked me, why is it so important for our seats to be upright positions before takeoff and before landing? Now, this is one of the questions we get commonly. What would you say to that?
Okay, I think it's very important. I think this has been on the long. Again, I'm not the expert. This is more regulatory of airworthiness side, but based on what I've read, this is based on in an older version on certification, and it's a requirement to have minimum distance between you and the front seat for in case of impact, so you don't
The
get
brace position, you mean?
to get not just even to the front items.
Okay.
So then they invented the brace position later on, and that's to have the least impact on your neck. God forbid something happens.
With impact.
The same thing I think happens in your car. Yeah.
I also want to extend that question, and a lot of people asked me as well, saying, is it true that captains and first officers are using their phones all the time, but they're telling us as passengers to turn off the phones during takeoff and landing? What would you say to that?
Well, if it's an airplane mode, it is safe to use your mobile. Then when it goes to mass people using their phones, there is a possibility, very remote possibility, but it is there to impact certain navigation items in certain aircrafts.
Because this is one of the things I was pointing towards. I know some of you have messaged me saying, is it true that turning off the airplane, it doesn't really, because a lot of rumors are out there saying the navigation frequencies are very different and it doesn't really affect the cellular data and so on.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's very interesting how human thinks. I cannot claim an expert, but I enjoy observing human thinking patterns. And you can pass a couple of red lights and safe, nothing happens to you. And doesn't guarantee though that it is safe enough.
That's a good example.
Just because you have landed a couple of times while your mobile is on and you think nobody interfere, it doesn't mean safe enough. If you like yourself, or if you love yourself and you love the other people, and if you feel responsible and accountable, just switch it off. Is it really, really that urgent? Is it really, really that important? Those 30 seconds, until the aircraft is on ground, when it taxi, it will be safe enough.
Correct.
But is it?
Correct.
Ask yourself.
Correct. Stay safe, guys, and follow the rules. The rules are there for a reason, and we should always respect the rules, and that's the perfect answer for that. And finally, let me finish it off with this last question. What's the best part about being a pilot for you? And also, what is the least favorite part about being a pilot? And obviously, this is different for everyone, but personally for you, what would you say?
See, I've been flying for 30 years, and I love every single thing about being a pilot. Seriously, I'm not even yet bored from it. I enjoy flying all the time. I enjoy everything about flying, the good time, the stressful time, day, night. You know, you have training and examining and checking every 6 months. You have medical every 12 months, and like you have colleagues. You know, you have a lot of technology to keep up with. You know, to update yourself with information. So there are a lot of things. I really, really enjoy everything about being a pilot.
All right. And anything you would specifically say which you like it the least, or?
I would say the least I liked about is when I used to fly for a classic airline,
Okay.
where my kids grown up, and I missed a lot of their birthdays, even when they are sick or when they Facebook or first things they walk or things like this. But nowadays, you know, I'm waiting for my grandchildren soon.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, and I hope that it doesn't happen anymore.
All right, that's perfect. So if you're flying for one of these low-cost carriers with short flights, I think that is not a concern anymore.
Not anymore.
Thank you so much for that lovely
Thank you as well.
I have to tell you that I actually learned a lot. There were certain things you told me that I did not know, and I'm so happy, and I'm sure a lot of you also learned a lot of new things. If you have any other questions, I'll have a link right here. It's very easy to get in touch with Captain Nadhem. I'll tag him on Instagram as well, and feel free to get in touch with us if you have any other questions. And now, I would love to get a little...
5 dirham you have to pay.
5 dirhams.
5 dirham.
Done. I would love to jump in and,
Put us on the threshold.
Yes, thank you.
Your seatbelt, please.
All right, seatbelts. All right. Behind the scenes, okay.
BTS.
Are we rolling?
Can you all speak?
Check, 1, 2, 3.
Can you speak?
I speak. I can speak, yes.
Yes. Okay, fine. I'm just checking if the mic.
Okay, sounds good.
Anyway.
Okay. Tamara, the angle maybe stay in the center, or what do you think?
Look here.
No, on your Instagram phone.
Look here. I will play around.
Okay, sounds good.
Don't try to play the director, okay?
Okay,
You are
done.
hardly a presenter. She'll fire you.
She can. She can replace me easily. Trust me, she can replace. She trained me, so she'll train another guy.
Irreplaceable.
Yeah, come on. All right.
Mashallah, tabarakallah.
We'll just wait for Sari to set up his video,
This
right?
is your,
No. He's just doing.
this is your main
That's the main camera.
So please look
So
at
that's
this.
for YouTube, and that's for
Don't be
Instagram.
distracted by me, guys.
Okay.
No, look good today.
So I'll continuously look into that camera, okay? All right, okay?
Rizwan, again looking at me. Look.
Okay, I'm so used to looking at you.
Yeah.
No,
My
correct,
God, he wants to tell you he's in love.
All right, okay. Ready?